enjoy ourselves too much. We're
Yeah,
live.
I am recording.
You're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Colin,
And I'm Nathan.
and we are currently watching network television because me and Nathan do not watch network television. We are in the midst of watching season one of The Blacklist, which first aired in 2013. We are watching. Whoops. Yeah, 2013. Never mind. And we are watching season two of The Mentalist, which originally aired in 2009. And we are watching season two of Miami Vice, which originally aired in 1985. As
Ah,
always,
good old days.
as always, we start with The Blacklist. We have season one, episode 13, The Cypress Agency, number 64. Original air date January 27th, 2014, NBC Monday. As Liz heads up an investigation that exposes an adoption agency shocking secret, Red's pursuit of the FBI identifies a surprising new suspect. Showrunner John Bokenkamp, written by Lucas Reiter, and directed by Michael W. Watkins.
No,
I thought that I somehow I like this episode. On some, even though I think in some ways it's kind of heavy-handed. It's like Liz is adopting a baby, and now suddenly we have a blacklist that's about an adoption agency that's evil.
did Red set this up? He's trying to send her a message. That's what I was thinking too. Is like it's way too hard on the nose, but also really sinister and insane
Yeah,
in its
I
own
think
way.
it's like we always constantly compare this to like either Fringe or X Files or even some way even compare this to Star Trek where it's like the Monster of the Week episode or the Dilemma of the Week, and
Yeah,
I like how they creatively create these monsters, but they're not. It's not sci-fi in any way or anything like that.
it's
It's just
worse.
real,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, I wish this was like a Sasquatch that was eating people. At least then I could compartmentalize the thing as not being real and therefore enjoy the ride. Um, yeah, this mix is the most satanic parts of like child trafficking for adoption and taking advantage of women in like a just a witch's brew of like, wow, you're just evil on four dimensions here.
Yeah. So the show starts out. We have some escape patient lady wandering the street looking for her baby.
Yeah.
um, and then some guy comes up and he says like, Kate, come on, we need to get out of here. And then a cop is like, hey, what are you doing? It's like, I need to call this in. And then the guy shoots the cop and then shoots the woman and walks
Yeah.
out of there.
Yeah, it seemed like pretty else. Like, oh, we just okay, we're busted now. Time to shoot everyone.
Yeah. And they just leave like nothing happened. And I think it's like credits, like blacklist.
Yeah.
um, then we come back and Tom and Liz are looking at ultrasound, to make him feel extra guilty for what ultimately happens.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, it just became real. I'm gonna spend more time at home."
The gloves are slowly coming off. And someone's about to get a set of knuckles to the face. I knew that was coming, by the way, but it was still fun.
Yeah. And then we cut to like I think it's like another like church or something like that. This time I think it's just like a Christian church, maybe. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's
No, it's a synagogue.
Oh, it is okay. I thought
Yeah,
it was
because Red says
just a
it's
different one.
synagogue. At the later meeting, he says it's why are we meeting in a synagogue?
Oh, okay.
Somebody says it because I
Um,
couldn't identify it either. I was like, what is this?
I haven't been in too many Jewish temples, but I've been in multiple different Christian type churches.
Yeah,
From
from the Catholic all the way to the snake handlers.
I haven't been there, but
I
Catholic,
know.
Presbyterian, Methodist, bunch of other ones.
Yeah, I've been in a mosque. You got to take your shoes off.
Eh,
They're nice, though. They're cool. I mean, it looks like something out of the Middle Ages.
yeah,
Like this one did. This one's
yeah,
over.
yeah. It'll definitely like throw you for a loop for what American culture has taught you.
Yeah, this is beautiful and cool. They weren't actively having prayer at the time, so because that would be very weird because I wouldn't know what was going on.
They have good
Yeah.
food and they feed a lot of
Yes.
homeless people. They do a lot of good stuff.
They have a lot of good food. Every once a week I'll have some kind of. And a lot of guys at work they own restaurants. and they'll just bring in what they call that, Tawuk or something. I don't know. They have the chicken shawarma too, but yeah. So yeah, it's constantly good.
Anyway, so we're in this synagogue and Liz and Red are talking about family, but it's like kind of indirectly and circular. So it's like, wait, are we talking exactly about this adoption? And then you find out it's about this evil Cyprus adoption agency.
Yeah.
And then also like that Liz just brings up is like, is this like, this isn't a coincidence that you're bringing this up to me now, right? He's like, pure coincidence.
Yeah, I like how they address it in the show. It's
Yeah,
like, wait a minute. This is, no, we're all too smart for that.
And they go to the agency, and there's Owen Mallory, who's the evil CEO. Although he seems he puts up a good front here because he never lets on that he's evil. It's like, oh yeah, well yeah, we're putting in a review ourselves, so yeah, go through our records. But
yeah, he seemed like on the level a little bit, but you knew immediately. Like,
yeah, no, it was just some rogue. It was some rogue agent on the back end that's doing something with our goodness. But no, it's just pure evil. But they just steal kids that people want, and then they just tell the parents adopting that, like, oh yeah, this is an orphan from some Eastern European nation or something.
Yeah. And then you find out it's actually worse than that.
Yeah. And then Liz sets a sting in New York with like this couple that's also adopting. They start talking to a guy, and it's like the lawyer or something. And then when Liz comes up and flashes her badge, then he gets all freaked out, and then like accidentally but intentionally like walks in front of a bus. I'm not sure. They kind of let that.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was like so freaked out he didn't notice the bus coming, or he just jumped in front of a bus. I couldn't. I never got the depth on that.
I mean, it felt like an accident, but it also seemed like they want you to feel like he killed himself because he couldn't bear the consequences of whatever the repercussion is. So
yeah,
which is somehow worse than death.
I guess, but none of these people seemed like super effective once they started breaking it down.
Yeah,
like they did have the hitman kidnap guy, but it's like they weren't like, oh, we're gonna dissolve your kids in acid if you snitch on us. Like it wasn't that kind of evil. So I don't know. Yeah. That was a weird scene to read. It was just emotional impact is what I call it. And now they don't have this guy to interrogate because he walked in front of a bus.
Yeah. So yeah, something exciting happened, and now they're down a peg, like on the investigation. Yeah. So, I also found it kind of weird that like Liz is technically adopted, but like that never comes up this whole episode.
Yeah, I was waiting for that to tie into like, wait, do I know who my how long has this been going? Things like this been going on? Like it's never looked into, which I guess they might have run out of rail for that.
Yeah. Then we have Mira and Red talking. So this doesn't directly pick up from the last episode. So Mira's still alive. She denies being the mole, but says she says something about like she about bidding for a contract, and what we find out later on is like she approved plans to go out for a security contract to be bid on, and so that's how the plans for the post office got out.
Yeah,
but
well, and also remember, Red has her tortured professionally before because he doesn't kill her, obviously.
Yeah,
it doesn't look that much worse for Ware when she comes back to the office.
She says she has a daughter like 3 times this episode, and I'm thinking at this point, like, why do you mention that much when we haven't seen your daughter? I'm like, does Mira have a daughter?
Yeah.
But yeah, she gets back to the office, and then she says, yeah, she was out because she was looking after. She said her daughter was sick and she was looking after her, and then Cooper's like a real hard ass about it, and it's like, you said family wouldn't be a problem. Like this job comes first, second, and third, just as Liz is about to ask for time off. So Liz is like, never mind.
Here we go. Walking into walls.
Which is like almost comical that like that happens at the same time.
And plus, a boss could never say that at any private or public job where there's
well, also, I mean, they're working their secret, their secret FBI life. So,
yeah, remember, there is no my kid has cancer and team. Back to work. I mean, there's sickos that want it to be that way, but
yeah. I think, I don't know. Yeah, we should see bank statements to see like why you still doing this job, other than that you're good at it and it helps overall. It stops evil, I guess. They should be getting compensated thoroughly. It's like, oh yeah, I don't have to take care of my daughter because I can pay somebody to do that.
Yeah, it's like there's like this is the government, it's like, you don't want 9/11 to happen again because my kid has a cold. Like, get somebody over here. The whole world's going to hell, don't you know? But then some Kentucky senator will be like, we got to reduce spending. Can't pay for all these damn kids. They're young. They're flexible. They take care of themselves. Their bones don't break,
Then Red points Liz to that like Cypress is stealing kids from criminals. I'm not sure if this really gets that delved into. That's just kind of a point to look at things, but because like,
well, there's a lot of dancing, teasing.
Well, I guess that's a misdirect because ultimately they're not where they're getting kids from is not from criminals. So
yeah, there's a lot of teasing around like the origins of these kids because in the end it's like the reveal. It's you pull the sheet off and it's like, oh, okay, this is like something from the Dune expanded universe or something.
But we have 5 missing women. They're presumably dead, and they're like mothers to some of the kids, and so they're just making them pump out babies, presumably, but we just don't know how or when. And then we have Mira swipes Cooper's badge so she can look up a memo. And the memo subject I wrote down a line. It says permission to release classified schematics for purposes of security system installation bid. So
yeah.
So she prints that out so she can hand it to Red because there's another name that's on there that doesn't get revealed.
Right. Yeah, they carefully like crop the screen up so you can see the name. It's like, oh, okay, who's the other name? It's like, oh, it doesn't say. All will be revealed though.
And then they get a clue on like some other lady's going to be abducted. So they try to intercept that abduction, but the dude kidnaps the girl. The wrestler gets hit by a van as Keen just shoots the van. So this time, like, Keen's unloading in open public.
Yeah.
I think she just shoots once and hits the back window, but
yeah, so because we have this really greasy looking kidnapper guy.
Yeah.
Who was of course driving around in a van. And
I saw like it's like that. Oh man, that guy parked like an asshole. It's like, oh yeah, that's intentional.
Yeah, he's can't really leave space. He doesn't want her to open the door because he's going to be opening his door.
Yeah. But yeah, they come back and it's Mallory, the evil CEO, meets up with the kidnapper guy, and he's like, "We're shutting things down. Why'd you kidnap her?" It's like, "Well, the lawyer said they needed a replacement after the Kate lady died," and then Mallory says something like the lawyer's gone, and they just shoots him in the head or whatever because everything's going dark. And then we cut to like a dog finding the Kate from the beginning, just buried in like the woods somewhere
in a really shallow grave where her face is sticking out of the ground.
Yeah,
it's really weird looking. It's like, ugh.
And Charlotte Patterson is the new kidnap girl. Then we find out that the girls were kidnapped and put into comas and forced to give birth multiple times. Because the coroner did the autopsy on Kate and says like, yeah, she has atrophy, so she hasn't moved in years, but like she's actually like surprisingly like has like all these nutrients or stuff in her body that's like, oh, she's like really good for giving birth. Like she has all the correct things for that.
She's like a still mother from Death Stranding.
Yeah,
have those babies that like have psychic powers because their mom was brain dead. It's like, is that what they're doing? That doesn't happen in this.
And then Ram Trace Mallory, and he finds out that he was adopted, and he stole an identity to go to Harvard. I guess that's ultimately the Mallory thing. And then they meet with like his adopted parents, but like somebody stole your son's ID, and she's like, or something about they stole their ID, and then they see the picture. It's like, oh, we know him, like we adopted him, but then we gave him back.
Yeah.
And this is like I believe Liz is there too, and this is like the ultimate point where she's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't adopt a kid. I don't want to adopt it and then give them back, so let's just not start to adopt them in the first place.
Yeah, well, this kid had like problems, as you can see, because what he grew up into, to be, the psycho coordinator of the evil adoption agency. Because you find out that all the kids that the mothers are having, they're all from him.
Yeah.
Which is another weird thing, because he's basically, his anger is like, I am perfect, I am wanted. I make the best kids with kidnapped women that are put in comas. And yeah, which is like, oh, this guy's a sicko. But again, as we can't compartmentalize this as fantasy, because while people being put into comas and forced to have kids that are then sold has not, that I know of, happened yet in real life. But there's people that have run fertility clinics where it's all like the main doctor, like those are all his kids.
Yeah.
Because it was all from his sperm. And it's like, oh, this guy has like 700 kids or something. That has really happened.
Yeah, like the refrigerator set off one time, and the guy's like, oh, I'll just use mine.
Yep. No one will know the difference. And I'm smart. I'm a doctor, right?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to have a doctor's kid?
The mirror meets with Red, and she hands off the aforementioned criminalizing letter, but we don't see who's on it. So, and then I think it's Liz and Red go to like some house party in a college town. I wrote down the line he says. He's like, you're about to meet the nicest narcotics dealer this side of Cleveland.
Yep.
And it's just some like, I don't know, like guy who's like newly out of college, and he's probably been selling drugs all since college, and he's just like, this is his thing now.
Yeah, he has a house full of women. Everyone's really high and having a good time, and he's probably like a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
And he knows everything about every drug you can imagine.
Yeah, so like Red is like specifically looking for this drug called hydroxypam, which is what they're using to keep the women comatose. And the guy's like, that's out of date. Nobody uses that because like people need to go to work the next day, so no one's using it anymore.
Can't be dosed out for 24 hours.
And apparently he just has like some tapped in probably illegally to all the pharmacies and like knows where they've been distributed. And he's like, oh, it's only been distributed to 3 doctors, and one of them's a fertility clinic. I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. And they're like, that's the one. And then they go to the fertility clinic, and then they try to shoo them away, and then the receptionist trying to shoo them away like pulls out a gun to shoot Wrestler, but Wrestler knocks him down pretty quickly before he even shoots, and handcuffs him, and then they give chase, and then Liz shoots the doctor and a gas tank, which just looks. I think I've seen on Demolition Ranch that like a 9mm won't go through a gas tank like that.
Well, it won't go through diving tanks.
Yeah,
I don't know if these have the same. I mean, it's just an effective scene.
Yeah.
It does seem like a
I
9mm.
thought it was gonna happen. Well, I thought what was going to happen is like the building is going to be filled with a gas that will eventually explode, but that doesn't happen. So it was just there for action. That's how you show off action. It's like you can't actually shoot bullets off, so you got to have somebody shoot a blank and then have something explode in the foreground, and that's a pretty effective way to do that. So
yeah, because I don't think a 9mm hollow point, which I believe is what the government would use, or these agents fighting terrorists would use, and I don't think it would go through a guy and then like puncture a tank, but it looks cool.
And then Liz keeps like kind of moving up the offices looking for Mallory because he's there too. The doctor did like pull a gun on her, so she was right to shoot him.
Yeah. She didn't just like shoot him. Avarice, like
And then she walks in this room that has like, some high rise and is looking out over the city, and then it's like slowly revealed where it's just like a room full of comatose women that they're using as a
half of
fertility
whom
thing.
are pregnant. Like
Yeah.
obviously, it's a weird scene.
And all these women are just like they've all been profiled, and they're like, okay, they're going to like Ivy League schools, they're in like sports and stuff like that. It's like this is an ideal candidate for this. And then but the funny thing is like when she's looking out for Mallory, Liz is kind of off put by like everything going on here because it's literally like some kind of horror movie, but just more technologically advanced.
Yeah.
And then Mallory is like using like the hospital bed and the coma moms as weapons.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird fight.
Yeah.
And that actress who was the lady in the bed did a good job. She just, like, didn't move, but because Liz is trying to like stop her from falling all the way on the floor, and this guy's just like and trying to beat up Liz. Which I thought she was going to shoot him, but didn't end up happening.
But they catch him.
Well, he does get shot, but not.
Oh yeah, wrestler shoots him, right?
Shoots him in the arm because he got the gun on Liz.
Yeah. And then they're interviewing Mallory, who's also known as Michael Shaw. That's like his original name. He has a bunch of names, and you find out that like, all the kids were his, which like that's just extra like evil. It's like he wasn't like, oh, we took two candidates and put them together. It's like we took all his candidates and I'm gonna have sex with all of them. They don't give us that detail if that happened. If he just, if it was just in vitro fertilization. Or
I'm guessing it was in vitro. It didn't seem like a sex thing with him. It seemed like I'm not as flawed just because my adoptive parents rejected me because I was such a psycho as a kid. It's like I see I'm the perfect man. That was sort of his thing.
Yeah.
She was like, "Are you going to tell us anything, or can you make this easier on yourself?" He's like, "My work is done. Like, I give what I want to you. You have no power over me."
Yeah,
it's like, oh, okay.
And then Liz gets home and decides that her and Tom can't raise the child. And then then we cut to Red waiting in the dark again while Sundown by Gordon Lightfoot plays.
Again, this has happened twice.
Oh, have they used that before? Oh, okay.
I thought they did. I could have. I mean, I'm a big Gordon Lightfoot fan, so I always like it when he pops up.
But like the first lyrics, like this actually play at the end, but like I put it up at the beginning because like it makes it almost reflects what's going on. It says, "I can see her lying back in a satin dress in a room where you do what you don't confess. Sundown, you better take care of if I find you creeping around my back stairs."
Yeah. It works for anything. Cheating on your wife, murder. It's all kinds of song. That's the thing about Gordon Lightfoot songs. They're beautifully written.
And here we find out Diane is the mole. She's like the government bureaucrat that's been dealing with that's kind of that overseeing the post office project.
Well, she is the assistant attorney general.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how many assistant attorney generals there are, but yeah, she's like, it's like, how's he gonna? As soon as he shot her, I was like, oh, where's this gonna go? Like, this is like a
because I didn't know what she her job. I didn't know if she was like a senator or something because she's like has to report to Congress. So, but I didn't know but she's also like she's an older woman, so I figured like, well, is the job she has, she's just had it forever, or if she's like one of those like presidential appointees that like whenever like the Republicans come back in power, she just gets put in charge of this thing or whatever. But
as far as I know, she's the assistant attorney general, which I don't know how many of those there are.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if she's even on the cab one list, or they come in the back way.
Well, like, what's the attorney general like basically for like the whole United States? I can't remember what that's called. Is that called something different? Is it just attorney general? Okay.
Yeah.
Or no, I'm thinking of I'm probably thinking of district attorney. Is that what you call like the kind of like a head cop in every state? It's a district attorney.
That's like usually when you talk about the DA's office and all that, it's just usually big cities like you know,
Okay.
Los Angeles DA or whatever. Like, yeah,
Or
that's
do or do individual states also have their own attorney generals, but it's just for the state? I'm
yeah. The states have attorney generals. The
okay.
states
Okay, that's
have
what I'm
DAs.
confusing.
What you're thinking of, the federal equivalent of that is U.S. attorney.
Okay.
Those are for the federal districts in the states. But that's for the things that kick up to the federal courts. But no, this lady's at like almost at a cabinet level.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I was just trying to wonder, like, well, how much crap are, how much deep crap are they in because of this killing? 'Cause
Yeah,
it's like
that's what I was thinking.
it's like, is this going to be publicly known, like this, or is this just to be like page 2 of the of, of of the Washington Times or whatever, or we'll post. Um, but yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. Anyways, yeah, Diana's the mole, and then, but also they wrote down like, well, she was kind of protecting Red at times because he was like, when she was talking with Alan Fitch, that's the Alan Alda character, she was like denying that Red was giving this information. She didn't tell him that, so she was kind of protecting him in some ways, but ultimately he just shoots her because she put them in the crosshairs in the first place. So, and then she professes to, after he shoots her once, and then they talk for like another 2 minutes,
Yeah.
and she's like, "You can't shoot me." He's like, "Can't I?"
You're not. What does he say? You're not one of the good guys, or
Yeah,
and you're useless to the bad guys, or something like that.
yeah. But she professes to know the truth about what happened to his family, and then Red says like he wants to know that more than anything in the world, and then just shoots her dead because someone else will also know the truth.
And it shoots her like 5 times with a revolver.
Yeah.
And then
Mr. Kaplan.
Mr. Kaplan shows up, which means the body's going to disappear. Oh, it's like, oh, this is even weirder.
Which Mr. Kaplan is the old lady from the second episode of the Ansel Garrick 2-parter.
Yeah.
And like that's her name. She's called Mr. Kaplan. But we also have like Liz like sulks alone, and then Tom is like hanging out with Jolene again. So
yeah.
Which seems like another misdirect. It's like is Tom supposed to be have infidelity in his ultimate goal of whatever secret thing he's holding, or is it just like cool?
Yeah. Yeah, because Red's always told her, like, yeah, you got to watch your husband. You got to watch your husband. It's like, why? What's this indicate? Because of potential infidelity? It's just in the hearts of all men. Like, how do you reconcile that? I don't know. But it's also that's kind of a weird movie TV thing too, because I know when I'm having problems with a woman, the only woman I've ever had any kind of conversations with about anything is my wife, really, the one I have a relationship with. Going to talk to another woman would not be my answer. It's like, oh, are you going to try to manipulate me too? It's like, great. It's like one at a time, please. But I know on TV and movies, this seems like I'll talk to another woman and get her perspective, because she's not trying to seduce and or use me after all. Because women just love to randomly talk to men because they know that men are just like, they like to listen and they like to understand. That's how life really works. But it works for the TV show. I find when I see stuff like that, I'm like, oh, come on.
But yeah, the last thing we have is Mr. Kaplan going to cover up the murder, which we can clearly see through the outside window. Apparently, she doesn't have neighbors. It's just an isolated house somewhere in Washington.
A nice house in the Virginia suburbs where you can fire off gunshots at full blast with flashes in the middle of the night, and everyone's like, huh.
Keep to yourself. Don't snitch.
By the way, I love people's reactions, and like, even, I mean, I suppose Reddington's like used to. Have you ever fired a gun off inside a house or an enclosed space?
No, not just blanks, but we had hearing protection. So
I did it in the shot house with earplugs in once, when back in my days when he used to pay to go do that stuff on the weekends. It is cacophonously loud, even with, I was using a shotgun, but still, I always love it in the TV shows where everyone's calm and it's like boom, 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 boom. It's like, oh no, that would might crack a window. Like, that's a lot of pressure being released.
I mean, I could give a pass for Red because I imagine the amount of crap he's been. He probably
Right.
has severe hearing loss. And he just has like micro hearing aids we don't see, and he has them turned down or something,
Yeah, it must be.
so he can shoot people indoors.
Because that would be my tell when I become a hitman. It would people be scared because I'm putting my earplugs in. It's like, why is he putting his earplugs in? Well, he's going to shoot a gun inside a house, and it's going to damage his hearing badly if he doesn't put earplugs in. That's what my hitman name would be: earplugs. Guy's serious about hearing protection. Not so much physical health, but hearing protection, definitely. Now you can't run from a crime, but you will be able to hear you coming.
But anyways, you can see Diane's bloody body through the front window, and they
Yeah.
they replay the Gordon Lightfoot song. So
It was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, they do stuff like that. Cool. They mix music. Reddington is the best thing in the show
Yeah.
because just who that actor is and how he plays that character. It's like, what's he going to say next? Because he's a guy you can tell why he's scary, and he's also sort of like I don't know, a fancy man, I guess you'd say, like, oh, he likes nice things, and he describes suits and ties and stuff. I have no idea what it is, but it's like, he's going to say stuff like that, or he's going to quote something.
Yeah, he's very poetic about
before he does something awful. Like, and with like a blank expression on his face.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to quote Hemingway and just shoot someone to death and just be like,
see how this plays. He does apologize to Mr. Kaplan that he made this a little bit too bloody. So
I think Mr. Kaplan's going to become the new crime concierge. I got a feeling he's going to go up more because the last guy got shot in the back of the head. But so, yeah.
Oh no, he just suffocated.
I know I got suffocated by a bag. Shoot me next time, okay? Just Hey, you want to die? You want to be shot or suffocated? Like, shot for sure. Like, hey, you want to be drowned in a pool? Like, no, I actually don't. It takes a lot longer than you think. In the movies and TV make it seem like if you garrote someone or throw a sack over their head, like the human body shuts down after being denied air for 10 seconds. It's like, oh no, this can go on for a minute and a half.
I mean, you can have there are some fear responses. It would basically be like a fainting goat, where like it's just so much like your body goes through so much stuff and is probably releasing so many endorphins that you basically shut down. But that's very few people that happens to.
Yeah. There are some people that do that, but yeah, sometimes that's like, I forget what that movie was where the guy had the powered zip tie thing. And he just put a sack over their head, and it was like, zzz, like it ran it up real quick. Like, that would kill you, but it would still be a horrible death. But you wouldn't. So the problem with garroting people and stuff, what I've learned from reading books, of course, don't everyone go crazy, but it's like sometimes people get so excited, like they're strangling someone, and then they just let off too early. It's like, oh, they're not moving. Well, they're going to start breathing again, unless their brain is dead. So. That's with the guy who did the zip tie thing with the bag. It's like, yeah, that would actually work because that would be constant pressure. I forget what show that was, but
the thing I always have like a fear of that, like I think would be like simple to do in a show, and I don't even know if it actually work. But like, could someone just kill you by like duct taping your mouth and your nose?
You'd have to be pretty passive for that to work. Even if you had your hands tied behind you, like you'd try to rub your face on something or use your tongue to push through.
Yeah, they're tied up, but like you see the thing where like they're tied up and they have the duct tape over the mouth.
Yeah.
Like they put it over their nose. Like, are they like dying in 8 minutes?
I don't know. It's possible.
I don't know if air. I mean, I don't know how much air can get through duct tape. I imagine because it's for duct work, it's probably not much.
Yeah, I mean it's.
But I've just never seen that in a movie. That seemed like something very simple and frightening. It's like, you mean if someone passed out and just put tape over your mouth, you just die?
Yeah, it might happen. I wouldn't search it up on the internet.
No. I mean, the close thing is like when you have a show and just somebody kills somebody with a shopping bag, where it's like, oh, that's super frightening because those are fucking everywhere. They you just like they you just accidentally passed out of something, and then like a shopping bag blew in your face.
Because they're just blowing around everywhere. Like you pass out, hit the curb, and It's like he was suffocated. Like, what? Shopping bag flew over his head.
Are you fucking serious? Like, oh, man, somebody had to kill him. It's like, man, we saw the tape. It was the wind killed him.
It must be murder. No, it's just litter.
The government
The folly
killed
of
him.
man, litter.
The landfills killed them because they don't accept shopping bags.
You know, those almost went away here.
Yeah.
We had to like buy all our bags and stuff. And then when the pandemic came, they're like, oh, you can't use your own bags.
Yeah.
There's all the plastic ones again. And it's like, wow, that sucks. Because you can get like the bags I bought to put stuff in. Like I can carry my groceries in one trip because they're the big double stitched ones where I just throw them over. It's like, here we go. Now these plastic bags, like I've lost milk before because the bottom ripped out. It's like, oh.
Yeah, they used to give like money back for if you use bags, but now they don't do that.
Yeah, we just used to bring the big insulated. We just bought them. It's like just fill this up, and then they said, "Oh, you can't do that anymore because it's covered with coronavirus." Like, okay, I'm waiting for it to come back because I had like $20 in those bags. It's like we're using these again. I don't care what they say. I'm getting money.
Well, I don't know how it is in your state. I'm pretty sure you can go back to using them now.
We probably should.
I mean, if you ever go into a grocery store and none of the employees, or even like half the employees are wearing masks, like you're probably good. I don't think they're gonna say anything.
No, probably not. I think they still do here. We're level 2 again, so
okay.
We'll all be wearing masks pretty soon.
It's pretty much dealer's choice here. It's just like, do you care or not?
Yeah, well, that's like the part of the state I live in now. If I went out west, if I went into a store with a mask, people would tackle me and rip it off like a communist or something. So you never know what you're going to encounter. Well, you went to Michigan, and they're like, man, you wouldn't believe all the Trump stuff. It's like, oh, wait, you were north of me. It's like, oh, yeah, that's like Alabama up there.
I like people are like trying to that came up with theoretical arguments where people are like, why are you wearing a mask? And like, you just go, it's a free country, right?
Yeah. My choice. My constitutional right to wear this mask. Yeah. You pull a gun out. It's like, you still want to fuck around? Like, whoa, talk about role reversal. Why are you wearing a mask? I'm about to rob this bank. Who are they going to be looking for? The guy with the mask? Shit, just take your pick. Because I remember around here it was weird. Like on Halloween, the first couple Halloweens I was here, you go to a gas station or something, they have big signs up, no masks inside the store, because that was the prime time for people walk in with a gun with a devil mask on, like, give me the loot. So they all had that rule here. Like every year, those signs are up, no masks inside the store, absolutely not. And it's like, what are you going to do now? It's like, wait a minute. Not only is he wearing a mask, but everyone else is. Anyway.
For our second show, we have The Mentalist, Season 2, Episode 13, Red Line. Original air date February 4th, 2010, CBS Thursday. Patrick Jang and the CBI team investigate when the body of a high-end luxury car saleswoman is found in the trunk of a Bentley in the dealership's showroom. Showrunner Bruno Heller, written by Jordan Harper, directed by Bill Delilah.
Yeah, this was interesting. This is one of those like good bad episodes where there's some stuff I really liked and some stuff was just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I didn't like it till like at the end where it's like they didn't go with the obvious choice that like, okay, the evil billionaire is the evil guy. It's like the evil billionaire is still the evil billionaire, but here he's like actually like assisting in the case for thrills, which is kind of a fun thing rather than the usual like the evil billionaire did it.
Yeah, well, he's almost kind of a foil for Jane in a way, because he's not as good as Jane at reading people and stuff, but he's not fooled by Jane either.
Yeah.
Because first when he meets him, he's like, "Oh, you're giving off like a charlatan vibe. Like I could just tell you're some kind of hoax guy." You know, it immediately starts like that.
Yeah, we start off. It's an auto show. dead lady in the truck, and that's Lizelle Douglas.
Yeah.
Jane psychoanalyzes all the car salesmen and tricks them into showing off how cutthroat they are by saying that her like client list is on her desk, and they all of them except one guy runs away, and then Jane has a fun exchange with the one guy who's like, well, obviously you didn't do it because you're you're a genuinely nice person, which means that's probably the guy that's going to get fired for selling enough cars.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys are literally fighting with each other to get I think Cho has to break it up. Like, hey, I didn't put her client list in there, you idiots. And it's like,
yeah, he has his client list with him on it.
Yeah. That seemed a little like, oh, okay, that's funny, but almost ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody likes car salesmen, so I still believe that's like the most hated job in America.
No, dentist. Nobody likes to go to the dentist more. Okay. Dentists have a very high suicide rate because of that. Check it out. I could be totally making that up.
But yeah,
car salesmen get a bad rap because I'm good friends with some car salesmen. I have been for years, and a lot of them I know. The car salesmen no one likes are the people that are like, yeah, this was driven by an little old lady, and I know you're broke, and I'm going to give you this at a subprime, like 25% interest rate on this 20-year-old car, and it's going to break down as soon as you drive it off the lot. Nobody likes those guys.
Yeah.
Now the guys I deal with is like, this is what I want, this is what I'm willing to pay, and they make that happen. And if it doesn't meet those parameters, I walk away. But everyone's like cool, like no one's high pressuring me. But when you're in a situation where you need a car and you've got some financial troubles, those guys, that's the people that nobody likes. The guys that just work at most of your branded dealerships where they're new car salesmen, no, those are good guys generally, or they're just guys trying to make a living.
Yeah, I don't like it because I just don't like the idea that like, oh, you could have gotten $5,000 off the car, but you didn't negotiate correctly. So I just walk in totally defeated, and it's like, all right, I guess I'm just paying that price. I'm not gonna sit here and argue. It's like, and then they go over to somebody and they're like, all right, well, we got the car loan, so here's your car.
Yeah.
So I hate that, like, I can't just go in and buy something. It's got to be a whole hassle. So I just don't haggle or hassle. So.
See that again. That's just me speaking from because I work for one of the car makers. I just get I get a certain price and that's it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's not fair to me to say, yeah, it's like I'm treated like a fine. It's like, yeah, because they don't make any money off of you, but they have to deal with you because you could get someone on the phone. But yeah, that's
and that was fine. It's like, all right, I was able to afford this, but the other time I was like really like mad at the dealership is like, it's like, oh, it's about time to change the transmission fluid. I'm like, okay. And then like they go to do that, it's like, oh, this is a manual, and they just screwed up something royally.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, when you told me that, I was like, wait a minute, that Subaru is a stick shift,
which I'm guessing there might be like some sort of like fluid in a manual transmission. None. Okay.
The transmission fluid in an automatic transmission is hydraulic fluid that drives the gears, drives the planetary gears through the.
But I was assuming like there's like some sort of like thing that oils the manual stuff, maybe, but I guess not. But
no, it's just gear grease.
Yeah. So that was the only thing. It was like, well, I guess you could replace that, but I don't know. But anyways, yeah, they did a bunch of work and then had to I had to pay extra for it because they screwed up. Because something in the computer said I needed a transmission fluid change.
A word of advice to all our listeners.
But like I didn't pay like $1,000 extra. It was like $50.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, okay, well, I guess with $50, an extra $50, and I walk out in my car and there's no problem with it. And if there is, you're paying for it.
Yeah. Now they've got a paper trail.
Yeah.
Well, you know how see, my cars I generally lease, so they're always under warranty because the warranty doesn't usually exceed the lease, or vice versa. And but yeah, like when I get my son's car fixed, I always say I got a guy. It's like, yeah, once your car's out of warranty, get a guy because yeah, that's the kind of shit you'll deal with. Anyway,
hey,
these are guys who sell cars. These guys sell like ridiculously expensive cars to the 1%.
Yeah, they like at one point they say like, not yeah, you can't just be somebody walk in there and like I'd like to see a car. You have to like have a bank statement to prove you can actually buy the car.
Yeah.
Like that's how exclusive they are.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because
but
otherwise everyone would come in and want to test drive a Ferrari.
yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we haven't sold this Ferrari yet, but it's got 25,000 miles on it. It's like, how's that
uh,
working out for us?
they have James Kinsey as the top salesman. He's just kind of like a traditionally handsome guy with a big smile, but he also seems like a complete tool.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, he could be the murderer, but I don't know. We have Jeff Sparhawk, the rock star boyfriend of Lizelle.
Yeah.
And then but that's just a name given out, so they're gonna go there later. But we have a scene where Lisbon and Rigsby and Van Pelt have a meeting where Lisbon says she's gonna report the relationship because that's what you're supposed to do, and they're like, and you're probably gonna be put in different departments. So that's a bummer. That's a bummer for everyone because like Jane later on is like convinced that Lisbon is feeling guilty about it.
Yeah.
So, which she probably is. So, well, I guess she is. It's proven later on. But anyways, then Lisbon and Jane interview Jeff. He's breaking a guitar, but it sounds like a gunshot when he's doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
And then they're talking about like Lizelle, like she was pretty, so she like wasn't the greatest salesman, but she was getting sales just because she was pretty, I guess. And like guys would give her gifts, and she'd throw most of them away except for this one of them. There's like a valuable painting on the wall, and she saved that one because she usually just gives them away. But she said like, yeah, that one's gonna pay for our wedding. So, because there's like an interesting thing like where Jane's like, so you're an artist or you're a musician? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, any good? And he's like, no. He's like, no, you're okay. Like she wouldn't have been with you if you were bad.
Yeah.
But he can't believe in his own art, so
Yeah.
that's kind of a fun thing. So, but also his girlfriend just died, so obviously he's in a bad state. Then they go to like some clubhouse, and this is where we meet Walter Mashburn, who was like a former client, and he's some billionaire and there's kind of a fun moment where Jane like kind of just walks into the club, and like the concierge has to go after him, and then Lisbon like gets behind the thing to look for the name. And then just somebody comes up and it's like, yeah, we'd like a table. And she's like, and then he like says that he's Walter Mashburn, and she's like, oh, good, we want to talk to you. But then they just kind of cut to the next scene where Jane is reading him at the dinner table while there's just some young woman there who's like on the phone. That's presumably just some lady he sleeps with on occasion or something.
Yeah. Yeah, there didn't seem to be like any serious,
Oh, they don't talk at all.
Yeah. She's just like the Russian arm candy girl.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah.
They don't talk. Nobody talks to her. She just exists.
Yeah, she's just the Svetlana for the evening.
Because also like Mashburn hits on Lisbon. So yeah, it's like, yeah, you look kind of sad, and you're in like an official position. Like, I think you're out of my reach. Do you want to go out sometime?
Yeah, this guy's with like a complete, you only live once. You got an interesting foil for Jane in this episode.
Yeah. Well, also, yeah, Jane just asks him like, "Did you kill Lizelle?" And he won't say that. So he like seems too suspicious to be guilty. Whenever somebody's too suspicious, it means they're usually not guilty.
Yeah. They're guilty of something, but not the murder they're investigating. Just being an asshole.
Yeah. And there was a missing Ferrari that's probably a murder weapon. Oh yeah, there's like a bunch of actually two, but there's like a couple of prolific character actors. You have Peter Onorati, who he's just kind of like the head of like the salesman. He's like,
yeah.
But he just kind of you'll see him as like, oh, that guy. He just kind of plays a bunch of like kind of vaguely the dad roles or something like that. And there's Paul Ben Victor, who's also in this episode. That's who Ferrari. That's who's Ferrari they're looking for, and he's both these guys been in hundreds of things. So
Yeah, I'd say that was the producer guy, right?
yeah. Oh yeah, and then they go back to the dealership, and Jane keeps messing with James Kinsey's food because he has beef barley soup in the fridge. But he also keeps drinking Pepto Bismol, so I thought that was just like, oh, the stress of the job is getting to you. You must have ulcers or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I didn't know what that was all about.
But also, there's like the thing about like, oh, he said somebody stole his soup, and it's like, well, why did they do? Who would steal their soup? Isn't this supposed to be like everybody here's supposed to be making money?
Yeah, who's stealing beef barley soup? And why aren't these guys just eating sushi off of naked girls? Like, what kind of money they're making? It's commission on $250,000 cars. I mean, guy shouldn't be packing a lunch.
Yeah. Then we have Mr. Wayne. That's Paul Ben Victor. He's interviewed by Rigsby and Van Pelt. And then like, this is where they find out that Jeff took the Ferrari because there's drugs in it.
Yeah.
And he's like divorcing his wife, so he doesn't need things like that. And then so yeah, they're going to look for Jeff, but then Jane goes on a hunch, and he's like looking for Mr. Mashburn again. So he's just he's just fishing off the dock, waiting for him to come back on his boat.
Yeah, because Mr. Mashburn has like a Miami Vice boat, one of those go
fast boats. Which I was looking it up because I was like, why don't they call them cigarette boats? And like, no, they do call them go fast boats. They're also called cigarette boats. I'm like, why are they called cigarette boats? And it's like the guy who invented it. They also used to be called rum running boats. Because back when they were running rum, the guy who invented a boat that was longer and kind of narrow at the end, he said it looked like a cigarette, and he named his first boat the Cigarette. So that's why they're called cigarette boats.
Oh, okay.
But yes, yeah, they are called go fast boats. So I was just sitting there. It's like I'm not in that scene, so I don't know what they're called. Go fast just sounds stupid, and I looked it up. It's like, yeah, they're called go fast boats, so whatever.
Yeah, they have no other purpose. Also, that's you don't pull someone behind those on skis. You don't fish off of them. They're just made to go insanely fast.
Yeah,
and use a lot of fuel.
Well, I thought it was fun. Something they were talking about, like they're essentially like for their size, they're the most expensive boats in the world.
Yeah, oh yeah. Multiple V8 engines in them and stuff. It's insane. So the difference between there's a huge difference between a marine duty engine and a shore duty engine, because that's where like all the high performance car stuff, like the roller tip rockers and all that all came from boats.
Huh.
Because cars run, you get it up to speed. I mean, they can go fast, but you get them up to speed and they power through the transmission, and then they're working at an RPM. Boats run at the top of the RPM. They're at red line most of the time. So you have to have all kinds of extra performance stuff built into them so they don't just overheat and explode on you. And they also have like gallons of oil in them because that's how they keep it from breaking down and stuff. It's fascinating, but yeah, doesn't have anything to do with the show, but this is kind of cool.
Well, we on this show we talk a lot about boats because Miami Vice. So here's another show we get to talk about boats. So, then we have Jeff crash the Ferrari, and he's like trying to do a suicide by a cop with a katana sword. So he's trying to threaten the cops so they'll shoot him. Jeff's saying he killed Lizelle, and which is kind of funny because like Lisbon and Cho interview him, and like he's saying he didn't do it, and he's like, I killed her metaphorically, and they're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, literally, they're like, you just admitted to us you killed her with all the sword drama. You musical weirdo guy, angry musician dude, and now we're like, oh, it's a metaphoric kill. It's like, we don't prosecute for that. We can't pursue a case on metaphors. Singer dude. You ever dealt with musicians?
No.
Okay, this show is pretty close. It gets it right.
And we have Rigsby and Van Pelt in between, like argue about their relationship.
Yeah.
Where it's like, should we just give up on this relationship? It'd probably be easier for both of us.
Well, Rigsby's kind of a jerk. He's like, this relationship, like, I've got a career. And of course, she rightly points out, it's like, well, what am I doing here then? Like, this is my job too. He's like, I didn't mean that, but it's like, that's exactly what it sounded like.
Yeah, I mean, Rigsby, he says dumb things because he's
Rigsby's a meathead. He's good at
yeah.
tackling people and fighting. He's punchy, but yeah,
He doesn't. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean he's without passion. He's just like doesn't express it correctly. It's very blunt.
Yeah, he has all the passion of like just crashing into a wall. It's nothing artful about him, but that's his character too.
Yeah. Then we have Jane doing parlor tricks with Mashburn, and then they go to the parking lot where and Cho just shows up too to get Jane to talk to Jeff, but Jane is blindfolded while he's driving Mashburn's Lambo, and he's going to drive based on like while touching Mashburn, he's going to drive basically on how his feelings come off or whatever. But yeah, he drives down the parking lot, he goes in between some planters, and they park the car, and the crowd is like clapping. It's like he did it, but then he apparently left it in neutral and it falls off a cliff.
Yeah, and then Jane's like looks at Mashburn. He's like, "Well, that color was terrible."
And like I wrote down, not sure if it's a joke or on purpose because they play it off as like an accident and a joke. And I was like, no, he did that on purpose.
Yeah, Jane's not someone who leaves details open. Now, I don't because Jane said he would buy him a new one.
Yeah.
Because doesn't Jane have a lot of money from his psychic days?
I mean, I presume so because he has like a nice house and that old car that probably is expensive. So, but. Yeah, and he gets some money for being a consultant, but it's not much because, as we learned in the show, basically every police organization is on the verge of bankruptcy. So
yes,
because that brings the drama. But yeah. Also, Lisbon, she's on the phone with Cho, and then she's like, "Remember, CBI is not liable for him. He's just a consultant."
Yeah.
So that's where we have Jane says he's going to buy him a new one. And so they go to that luxury dealership to look for a new car. And I wrote down, is it going to be the salesman or is Mashburn and I wrote down, is Mashburn in on the ruse? Like, does he know he's helping with the investigation? Which I'm actually not sure, but I think he has fun ultimately. And then, but Jane chooses like the second guy that's in, he's not the top salesman. He's the second one. He says because he'll work harder. I think it's like Elias. Yeah, Elias. And then they're walking around and Jane's just kind of like reading Elias to see like what car to use to kill Lizelle because Lizelle was hit by a car. That's how she died. And was taken and then dumped in the car. And so he's reading Elias. This is kind of like what he did in the very first episode of the season. It's very similar.
Yeah.
And so like they get to a Ferrari, but Elias is like trying to like, it's like, oh, it's like you don't want that car. And then I forget. Oh yeah, he just runs away at some point, like because he's like, oh, you killed her, didn't you? He's like, no, I didn't. And he just like starts running away, and then just Cho like runs him down, and that's where Mashburn is like, oh, we just solved a murder, didn't we? He's like, yeah. It's like, oh, that was fun. And then he's like off the hook for getting Mashburn a new car because this was exciting enough for him than a new car would be.
Right.
And also we have the like Elias stole the soup and he like, or no, he didn't steal the soup. He poisoned the soup, but like Lizelle found that out, and so she threw that soup away. That's why the guy thought his soup was stolen. But he was poisoning the soup to make the guy feel bad, so that's why he has all the Pepto-Bismol there. And then
very like callback to what was the movie with Bruce Willis? It was the really successful M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Oh, Sixth Sense?
Yeah, I remember where the mom was poisoning the kid with like, what was it, like pine salt, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Enough to make you sick, but not enough to trace it. And it's like, I thought immediately of the Sixth Sense. Like, okay. Slow poison.
I can't remember like why he ultimately killed her, just because like she took one of his clients or something.
No, because she knew he was poisoning the guy's soup. She caught him.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's what the whole thing with the soup was about.
Yeah.
Because you noticed when Jane was picking it up and playing with it, it was like duct taped down, like the lid.
Yeah.
So it was one of those mentalist episodes where they're throwing the clues at you the whole episode, but they're so weird and obscure. You wouldn't like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now it makes sense. After
I thought it was gonna be. At first, I thought it was gonna be something like Jane's gonna like steal the soup and like gauge the guy's reaction to tell whether he's a killer or not.
Yeah.
Which he kind of does, and he kind of does the same thing with the Lambo by crashing it. I thought he was doing something where it's like, well, let's see how Mashburn reacts to like when something he likes gets, destroyed. But because he's a billionaire, he's just more miffed by it.
Yeah. Cars are a pain in the butt to drive.
And then we get to the end, and like Lisbon tells Rigsby and Van Pelt that she's going to pretend to not know anything about the relationship.
Yeah.
So they don't get in trouble, but they just can't they can't show any affection in
no
office.
Making out at work or holding extended eye contact, and then because they're in the middle of a fight, they look at each other like, yeah, no problem. Form off in the opposite direction. Lisbon's like, huh? Okay. Lisbon does that thing with her head where she turns it sideways. Like, I don't know what's going on. And I don't want to know. I just did someone a favor and they both act mad. Okay.
And then the final scene is you have Jane gets a Mercedes sports car, but it's from Mashburn, but it's not a gift. He's just loaning it out for the day or whatever.
Because that's what you do with the guy who just drove your Lambo off a cliff.
Yeah.
So yeah, here, take another $100,000 car, sure.
And then he like takes Lisbon out to lunch or something. So that's just the fun.
But she's like, drive the speed limit, and he's like, no, and you hear her yell as he the gas, and because that's the Lisbon Jane relationship.
Yeah.
Jane's like, I hate authority because I'm Jane, and she's like, I love authority because it brings stability to my life. We're at Loggerheads. This is a TV show.
But yeah, it's like you said, it's not the best episode, but still fun. So
I like it that they had someone maybe not equally as intelligent in the same domain as Jane, but somebody who is not fooled by Jane.
Yeah, you can see through Jane, but he's not. Yeah. He's not necessarily smarter than Jane, but he's like up there. So
yeah, and I like that because Jane needs that in his life.
Yeah,
because Jane is ultimately a bad guy. I'm going to assume that we will find out he is a bad guy before this show's over. I could be wrong, but I don't watch them ahead, folks. Jump on me because it's no sense of me watching a show every week and knowing what happens.
Well, I mean, he's not like out there killing people for fun, but like we've seen him do his knowingly take money from people.
Things.
Yeah, from people who can't afford it, and leads them on to think either good or bad things are happening for his own reward. And that's awful. So
well, and then also he doesn't really offer people, for being a charlatan when the chips are down, it's like, yeah, tell this woman that, her husband's in the afterlife or something, like something a charlatan could do to make someone feel well. And she's like, remember that lady came to him, was like, I know my husband's dead and your wife and daughter died. And it's like, what do you think God thinks about, he's like, there's no God. There's nothing else. And he just looks right at her coldly, not quirky, humorous, like fun guy. Just like, it's just artificial things. They're gone. They're gone forever. I'm sorry. You'll never see him again. Like, oh, damn, dude. Okay. Can you, this is when we need you to be a con man. Just sell this woman up go home and we don't find her hanging in her kitchen or something. No, I'm not going to do that because that would like,
I think that's ultimately the thing is that like the fun Jane that we see is not who Jane is. Jane.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Different
like,
person.
He's not Red John or something. I don't think it's that.
Yeah.
But I think it's like, oh, he's just a dark. And people have alluded to that know Red John is like, oh, you're just alike.
Yeah.
You're just two sides of the same coin. And it's like, ooh, that's not a good coin. That's not a coin you want to be on either side of. But yeah, we'll find out more, I'm sure. Those are just my theories.
And then for our third show, we have Miami Vice, Season 2, Episode 13, Definitely Miami. Original air date, January 10th, 1986, NBC Friday. Crockett finds out firsthand about Charlie Bassett as a violent drug runner with an enticing wife that Sonny just can't get out of his mind. Showrunner Michael Mann, written by Michael Naiman and Daniel Pine, and directed by Rob Cohen, who's directed some of the better episodes of Miami Vice. So he's back here on season 2.
Yeah. This was the hottest episode of Miami Vice. They actually acknowledge how hot it is down there.
Yeah, it just starts off with a sun flare. Like,
yeah,
it zooms out and it's the sun.
Like a 1980s like solar camera picture of a solar flare. Like,
yeah,
it was like kind of a cool intro. It was like, oh, okay.
And then we have a Porsche that's driving and cross evolving with rock music. That's like, I think the song's called "Angry Young Man." I don't know who the group is.
Well, the guy that's Ted Nugent playing that guy. So.
Well, no, the guy in the Porsche at the beginning, that's the guy, the victim, Ted Nugent.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, because "Angry Young Man" is the Ted Nugent song.
Okay, that's what I figured.
He meets Ted Nugent at the sand quarry, I guess it is.
I just wrote rock quarry class, and then later on is /sand quarry.
Yeah.
He goes up to a window and he's like holding a briefcase, and then as he knocks on the window, Ted Nugent shows up and just shoots him to death. And then puts him back, takes the money, and then there's a gun in there, which is like, isn't that like a Webley or whatever?
It was something weird. Yeah, I don't recall. I thought it was a Beretta, but yeah.
Well, it's like one of those like weird like big magnums of like but it's like an semi-automatic, and it has like the cuts on the top of the rail where it kind of looks like a rail with cuts in it. So I remember that being kind of like that Webley Magnum or whatever it is. It doesn't get used; it just gets shown. So, I believe that's both in one of the Death Wish movies, and I think it's eventually in one of the Dirty Harry movies as like the ultimate Magnum.
Oh, okay.
Or it might not be Webley. That might be a weirder name.
No, it's a Wildy.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Webley's the British revolver.
Yeah, it was the Webley that threw me. It's like, oh, wait a minute, Death Wish. Yeah, this is like, yeah, that's the Wildy. That's featured on a lot of. I think they did that on Forgotten Weapons once.
Yeah.
It's a brutal gun to shoot.
And is that like its own ammunition? It's like 554 Wildy or something like that. It has this weird Magnum. It's just a huge bullet. So
I don't know. I'm looking it up because now I want to know. Because I'm on the Internet Movie Firearms Database, which is where I come for all this stuff. Because I don't know if that was a Wildy or the other company, California something.
Oh, is that like the Auto? Oh, what are they called?
Automag.
Yeah, Automag.
Yep, that's what it was. We were both wrong. It's the AMC Automag. It looks like a Wildy. It's 44 Magnum, semi-automatic, invented in '58.
But anyways, so he gets the bag full of money. He just kind of throws that gun in the car with the guy, and then the car just gets covered in sand.
But you don't see how it's done.
No, because they pull away to a wide shot, and there's no construction equipment to drop the sand, so it's just complete magic.
It's like Ted Nugent must be like just have a giant shovel. I don't know how this is happening. Usually I don't notice like little details. Like I'm not one of the little details guys. It's like, okay, where's the backhoe or whatever? Like what's doing this? So it's like, nope. But it's kind of a cool scene.
Yeah, this is a very kind of like it's not very it's not a very plot driven episode, but it's a very like kind of like scene or like just cool scenes and stuff put together.
Yeah.
So which, that's fine. That's what we come to Miami Vice for. That's what it usually does better than most. But yeah, we have Tubbs and Crockett waiting for some guy, Clemente, who's like supposed to turn himself in for protection or something. Because he's like, I don't know, he's in trouble somehow. So they're like waiting for him. And they ogle some lady who's sunbathing and soaking wet. Which modern day stuff would teach us, like, we're supposed to be like, ashamed of being like, this is like a pervy, creepy scene, but it's so specific and and almost artful in the way it's done, that it's not just, and it seems to be a lot of her own doing, so she's not
Yeah, I was
just.
gonna say, don't forget she is trying to entice him.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, because she's sitting in the sun. Her body is covered with sweat, like it's
Yeah.
beating. There's
Yes.
eye contact. Crockett's like sitting there, just with like full erection eyes, like just focused in. And then she like takes a towel and put it in a bowl, and
No,
then
no, no, no. Like somebody comes up with a tray that has a bowl with a shirt inside of
oh, it's
it
a shirt. I thought it was a towel. Okay.
and two bottles of Perrier. She covers the shirt in the bottles of Perrier, puts the shirt on, takes her bra off so you can see her
Right.
nipples,
Yep.
and then just walks around like nothing happened.
Yeah, and
But-
Crockett's and she's looking at Crockett while she's doing this.
Yes, yeah.
And like I said, he's sitting there with just, like I said, he's got erection eyes. Like, it's like Tubbs is like, we need to stand up. And he's like, I can't. It's like, oh, it's one of those scenes. That's
Yeah, we find her name's Callie. She introduced herself, and then she's like French,
yeah,
so it's like extra, exotic.
alluring.
And the assassin is there at the bar, and that's Ted Nugent.
Yeah, very young Ted Nugent.
And then we have some lackey shows up of Clemente, and then he gets scared, and he pulls a gun on him, but like they kick the gun out of his hand, but he runs out as some guy like pulls up in like a what does he pull up?
Trans Am.
Yeah, something like it. He just hops in and they get away. And then like they're back at the office and they get pointed at Maria Rojas, and she's in witness protection, and because Clemente apparently wants to see her. I don't think we get that detail yet, but that's the ultimate what happens. And then we cut back to another scene. I'm not sure if it's in the same area, but we have the same bartender from the previous scene, and they're talking to him. Is like, "Hey, weren't you bartending outside yesterday?" He's like, "Yeah." And then Callie is there, but apparently now she's in trouble.
Yeah.
And then so Crockett's gonna help Callie get away from her husband because she's saying like, I can't get away. We can't do this. And then we come back to the office and we have Dalva, who is like on the organized crime task force, and he wants to expose Maria, get her out of witness protection so he can catch Clemente.
Well, no, Clemente says he'll come in and flip for the FBI organized task force.
Yeah.
But if he can see that his sister's alive to prove that witness protection works,
Yeah.
that's the like conceit. It's like, wow, this guy must have a lot of power. And then they even make fun of the agent Joe Dalva because Crockett, Tubbs, and Castillo are talking, and he's like, oh, this guy thinks if Clemente comes in, it's the end of organized crime in America.
Yeah.
And they're all
he literally says all the dominoes will fall, and like,
and they're laughing at him like, okay,
like, no, somebody will just fill the spot. We know how this works.
Yeah.
And we also literally have Crockett saying like, 10 years ago I believe this guy, but now he's very suspicious of the feds. Like they just want a big score that won't actually solve anything.
Yeah, these guys are just career builders. Yeah, they're not really interested in doing the hard work of driving around in a Ferrari. He is the ultimate undercover cops that have busted like everyone in Miami. It's like, look at these guys. I've never seen them.
Then we have Dalva, Crockett, and Tubbs meet with Maria's lawyer, and then he who says that she's not cooperating because she'll get killed. And then Dalva gets mad. Yeah. And she gets mad Dalva gets mad at the lawyer, and then like he like goes to open up a door to the car and a dog jumps out. It's kind of a weird scene because it makes it look like he's about to get attacked by a dog, but it's like the dog's chained to the car, so it's everything.
Yeah, and he throws his arms up and screams like a girl. It's a really odd scene for this. Like Dalva's this really aggressive like fed, and then he's like, and the dog is like a German Shepherd, but apparently it's trained. The lawyer says, she's very protective. But it's like it didn't attack him, so it must be trained not to, or something.
Then where Crockett meets with Callie again, and she demands that they make love, and then Crockett gets assaulted by Charlie.
Yeah. And he knows he's being played, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Tubbs is like, this is bad news, right? And Crockett's like, I know how this goes. And and Tubbs is like, well, he goes, I just can't resist. And Tubbs is like, what the hell, man? You know what this is? And he's like, yeah, but I gotta go meet this girl. And yeah, has a really strange fight because the guy's wearing a fedora to hide the fact that he's the long-haired guy, supposedly. But and it's its fight that happens in the dark too.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we have the next day, and Castillo like takes a Maria decoy. And
these Miami Vice scenes that I love. Cops, weird location, limousines.
Yeah, it's like an unfinished like highway that's going out to the ocean or something. Like
there's two great scenes in this show of like weird locations. What is this place?
Crockett thinks he's being set up by Callie and Charlie, which he is. And then Clemente pulls up in a limo, but he spots the decoy and just runs, and the cops let him go.
Yeah.
Like Castillo doesn't really want to let him go, but Dalva wants him to go because like he calls the helicopter, but like they won't listen to Dalva, but they listen to Castillo.
Right.
And then Clemente calls them and says like he wants to know his sister's alive, and saying like he just wants to see her dance one more time, which that's super weird.
Yeah, it sounds kind of creepy. Stand on my feet and dance. It's like, whoa, what kind of relationship did these two have?
Which I thought
Miami Vice would not be like exceptional. They've already done that.
Yeah.
Once,
I thought it was gonna be something weird, like if like nobody asked what dancing means, and it's like, oh, he's gonna shoot at her feet and she's gonna dance.
Yeah, like old West style. Yeehaw! Okay, I'll come in now. It's like play it for humor, but no, they don't do that.
And then we have another scene where we have Callie ask Charlie to beat her up because she wants to sell this whole like thing where Crockett's like going to come in and save her.
Yeah, and I have some commentary on that scene. That scene is set up like a porn shoot. And what Callie says to him is like, she's like got her shirt kind of down, it's TV, so not too much, but she's like, do your thing. And the way the coloring and the way the camera's moving is like, ooh, wow, this looks like a porn. And then he just clocks her. Just like, bam. It's like, wow, but the way they shot it was disturbing. Like there's something wrong with Callie. You know that the whole time. You're with Crockett, like she's going to burn.
But yeah, I mean, this is when you know, like, okay, now this is especially weird because she's asking him to beat her up. This isn't like, she isn't unwilling in this. She's
excited about it, kind of.
Then Dalva chases after Maria. He just follows her home. Because they get the dancing things, they find out like some dancing parlor thing or whatever there's some dance routine class that she was getting from, because she's wearing like athletic wear or something, or like 80s flashy athletic wear stuff.
Yeah, stuff so you can move freely about, like close fitting.
Yeah.
Panties or or like bodysuits or whatever.
Yeah,
things that dancers would use, dancer stuff.
Leo,
I don't know. I was never a dancer, believe it or not.
So he like creepily chases her into her house, and then like extra creepily like Switek's there to ease her. It's like, I don't want to scare you, but he's less scary. But he's less scary than Dalva, so she listens.
Yeah, he's not like aggressive or anything.
But then Dalva talks to her, and he like forces the issue. He's like, we'll take care of you if you take care of us. So he's basically saying like, if you don't do this, we're gonna kick you out of witness protection.
And then you find out the reason she burned her brother was because he had her husband murdered.
Yeah.
That's when you find that out. It's like, oh yeah, okay, of course this guy's gonna kill her.
And these are like weird A-B stories. They don't really come together, but
no.
But this is the only point they kind of like where they intersect by being completely opposite. They are Callie setting up Crockett, but because everybody is on this other case, which is much bigger, Crockett doesn't have any backup to handle this Callie case, so he's on his own. So he knows he's walking into an ambush without backup. So that's where the drama comes from. And so yeah, like they put a they put a wire on him, and they gets a case with like bulletproof, like steel slats in the case, so he can block the bullets with it.
Yeah, he says it's like it's chromoly steel, 1 inch thick. It's like makes it sound high tech. It's like, oh, it's steel with chrome on it. Okay.
And so yeah, there's another Clemente meetup, and this time they're meeting at like some kind of like shore business that just has like blocks of concrete or like.
Oh, pay attention. The place that let them do this, like U.S. preformed, was stenciled on every piece of concrete. I noticed because it was in red letters, in contrast to everything else in the Miami Vice, like that pink, light blue, kind of that color patina they have.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this said U.S. preformed in red stencil everywhere. I looked it up. It's a company. They make preformed concrete slabs used in irrigation systems.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So they said, yeah, you can use this site for free, but we'll set it up for you. And yeah, they stenciled that shit everywhere.
So yeah, the real Marina shows up this time, and then she's kind of like dancing with her brother, and then she stabs him, which she's like,
pulls out a switchblade. And like, yeah.
And she's like, you made me do it. He was going to kill me. And she says that about like 5 times. And the sniper shoots her to death, so she's right.
Yeah, what if everyone just looked at each other and like, huh, son of a bitch. All right, let's go home, boys. And the guy, by the way, who was the sniper was the driver who drove the guy away, who pulled out the gun.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a guy with the weird hair,
with
like the sharp goatee things. Yeah. That was the sniper.
And then we're out at the rock sand quarry again, and then Charlie tries to shoot Crockett, but he blocks the shot with the bulletproof case.
Case of justice, yeah.
And then it also like rolls over the hood of the car, and then like takes cover, but then Zito pops up from like one of the sand dunes, and they shoot him. They shoot Charlie to death.
Yeah, so. Literally to death. Like they just boom, 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 boom. We got to take down this long-haired freak.
And I don't believe he ever identified himself as a cop, but it's but
well, once they've shot your bulletproof suitcase of justice, you have every right to shoot back. It's Florida, after all. You can use a flamethrower on the guy if you wanted to.
But then, like that, we come back to the scene, and it's like they're taking the body away, but then they're also like they're digging through all these sand dunes, because every one of these dunes has like a body and a car underneath it.
Yeah, this guy and his wife were just setting up fake drug dealers, shooting the guys and taking the money. Because you're just hoping these guys come alone to all these drug deals, because it's like, okay. I wanted one of the guys to go like shovel, like, cool, we found a Porsche.
And then Crockett meets Callie on the beach, and they have this weird scene where it's like she kind of hallucinates it's Charlie at first, and then it morphs into Crockett, and then she just kind of like shifts her expectations. It's like, let's run away. And then he doesn't say a thing. He just kind of looks stern, and he has glasses on, so you don't really see his eyes. And then just a helicopter comes up with a couple of cops, and they arrest her and take her away.
And she's trying to seduce one of the cops.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you think? She got her hands around his hip and stuff, and it's like, yeah, okay. And Crockett apparently really liked this lady. She was hot in a weird, exotic, cool way.
Yeah.
She's an American, believe it or not. She's born in America.
Yeah, but her parents were like French immigrants.
Yeah, well, her mom died, and she was raised in Mexico City, and then went to dancing school in France.
Yeah.
But it's weird, like technically she's an American. Like, huh, okay. But she looks like exotic, She's like, these are like the 80s.
Well, she's like she's super thin, but she's got kind of like the square face, so she's got a lot of like features that are recognizable. She's not just an empty person. And then and they shot her body to hell in this thing. They showed every inch of her in this episode.
Well, and they did a lot of face. They did a lot of because she's got an interesting face.
Yeah,
they did a lot of shooting on her face. Like when she was talking, they would track her whole face, and you could. And I guess that's a technique to make her look seductive. But I could. Again, this was Crockett's like.
Well, I remember this is they make like a music video of the the Crockett's theme on YouTube. Someone put a cut together and just has a bunch of scenes from Miami Vice. And
Oh,
this
okay.
is one of the scenes, and I thought this was at first I thought this was what's her name?
I know who you're thinking about. Lady in the White Snake videos.
No, she's a famous actor, red hair actor. She was in the Hannibal movie.
Oh, yes. And why can't I think of her name? She's really hot too.
No, that's
Yep,
a TV
can't
show.
think of it. Look it
It's
up.
okay.
Anyway,
It's
Miami
okay.
Vice.
This will be edited, so
Yeah.
I can make it seem like we came up with it instantly.
Yeah, look how smart we are.
Oh man, Hannibal came out in 2001, huh?
Yeah. Julia, it's coming to me
Julianne
now.
Moore.
Yeah, Julianne Moore, yep.
So I thought that. So when I saw that in the music video, I was like, "Is that like a really young Julianne Moore?" It wasn't, but it's okay.
No. Julianne Moore would have been like 14, I think. She's closer to my age.
But yeah, it's my bad. So yeah, this like I don't know. I mean, it was a clunky episode, but it had a lot of cool visuals, and that's what we expect out of Miami Vice, so that's fine. So
Yeah, this is more into this is what Miami Vice is going to be kind of from here on out. Like the one with Phil Collins was sort of
that was more
it
goofy.
was
I mean,
like
anytime you have Izzy, it's a goofy episode, but
yeah, but it's a lot more of like Castillo staring balefully into the distance. And it is dark stuff happening, you know, and I like the heat of the episode. Like it's just literally everyone's hot and uncomfortable. Like you don't see that reflected a lot.
Yeah, because it's carried through every scene, so it informs. So that's an interesting thing. So
they made some good choices here visually.
Yeah, because looking up like the user ratings, which really don't mean anything. This is like one of the higher rated episodes. Like they got like an 8.9. So
and yeah, I mean it's for storytelling. It's like it sounds like a car with a engine running out of oil, but for visually, this is a great episode.
Yeah,
and they did a lot. Like I said, when they made the Cassie's husband beating her looked like a porn shoot. Like they did that on purpose. I just picked up on it. Like I didn't look that up.
Yeah.
I just like, oh, this looks because she's on a bed. Like do your thing, and it's like this is supposed to be vaguely like hot and disturbing because again she's covered with sweat and it's like, oh, what are they doing here? But it works. It's definitely Miami.
Name episode. Yeah. Which I believe Ted Nugent says out loud at some point. He's like,
yeah, of course.
Which I can't remember why.
I don't. Yeah.
He's like on the balcony, and he's just like definitely Miami.
Yeah. Never been there. Probably never will. Like the TV show from the 80s.
I'll see if they'll have if I can get to the Miami GP next year for F1.
Is that happening in the summer?
No. Well, I don't know when it's happening next year, but it's like happening next month this year. So,
oh, okay.
Which what are we? May's like, I mean, it's not summer yet, but it'll be hot.
Yeah.
Especially in Miami.
Like I said, you have to tell me what it's like because I'll never go there.
Well,
so.
I can't go into any race this year. Pretty much every race is sold out. So unless I want to go to like Azerbaijan.
Who are they aligned with right now?
Nobody good.
Yeah, might not be a place I'd want to go on an American passport. What do you even do in those countries? I don't know.
Just make oil and secretly kill people.
Yeah. Where's Borat from? Kazakhstan.
One of the stands.
Yeah.
One of the most corrupt countries in the world.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, all those like kind of like former Soviet blocs, all those stands or whatever, there's like this rating for like corruption, and like almost all of them are horribly corrupt. And the only one the one that's the least corrupt is Mongolia, which has essentially the prototype most successful democracy in Asia.
Oh really?
Yeah, even though it's still very corrupt, but compared to all the countries around it, is way less corrupt.
And that country like completely dominated that part of the world. Like what, 1,000 years ago or something?
Yeah.
Well, and they do that cool throat singing. I think that's Mongolian, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
so. Yeah. And they got the knuckle bones that they roll like dice.
Oh yeah.
Make a bunch of games out of it. Well, if you liked what you heard, and how couldn't you? You can find us at anchor.fm/Verhoeven Effect, or you can just go to verhoeveneffect.com. You can rate our podcast on whatever platform of your choice. You can rate us whatever you want, but the only thing that the algorithm listens to is the highest rating. Remember, you control the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't control you. We also have listener support at verhoeveneffect.com, where you can support the show at a monthly stipend, either 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99. And I believe you can cancel anytime, so you don't have to worry about it. It goes through PayPal. I support myself just so I know if there's a problem.
Nothing wrong with self-supporting.
Well, that's why I say, like, yeah, I give to my own show to
make sure it works. Yeah.
Yes. And if a problem pops up, well, then, like, then I can't, because if there's a problem, I can't suggest people support the show.
That's how much we care about the fans, you, the listeners.
You can also find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect, at Facebook at Verhoeven Effect. We're on YouTube at American Greed Factory. You can watch both that show and this show live and unedited. We also have t-shirts at belowthecollar.com/Greed Factory. We are wearing them currently.
Yes, we are. We synced up for once.
I got the black one. You got the white one. Although with the black one, the white lettering, after a while, it kind of cracks a bit, but I don't think the black lettering does crack.
No, well, you don't dry them all the way. You hang them up wet. Dry them for 20 minutes on low, hang them up wet, because you're only going to wear it once a week, and that way the letters won't crack.
Oh, okay.
I learned that from my wife.
Oh, okay. Because, like, the suggestion they give from the website is to just wash them inside out, and that'll protect them.
Yeah, do that too.
So,
yeah, just don't dry them all the way, because the cotton will shrink faster than the vinyl. And that's what happens. Kind of like what happens to our roads every winter.
Yep. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, this is Colin.
This is Nathan.
Goodbye, America.